One investor that was a connection through a current investor, and he asked me the question that none of them have ever asked me, where he said, what % do you put on this succeeding to the level that you expect? And I was like, that's a great question. And nobody's asked me that. And I said, well, if I were to sit here and try to sell you and be like, 100% to the moon, we're going to crush it, guaranteed, either invest or get up, you're going to know I'm full of it probably. I said, I don't know what % you want to put on this. I personally have no other option. And to what level, we're not sure yet. To the level that I expect, there's no reason we can't get there. It's going to take a long time and a lot of work, and it's going to be a grind for a very long time. And I was like, but me personally, I have no other option. All my cash is in here, plus a lot more the other way. And I want to give back to the supporting people that are in my life. I got to make it work. I was like, I don't know what % you want to put on that. And he just paused for like, 5 seconds, kind of long. He goes, sending a check tomorrow. Ashley Gorley said in an interview one time, it was a printed one, he was just like, there's no minor leagues in songwriting. Because everybody comes here and then it's like, there's no structure, there's no pathway, there's no like stability place where songwriters starting out can go, I'm at high school baseball to get to college baseball, to single A, to double A, to triple A, to the major leagues. It's just like, there's nothing. Go, how do we help build those leagues for those songwriters to then find other songwriters to have maybe new publishing deals? Looking at it a different way, where maybe it's not what the current publishing deals are now, but like a different version of that, akin to when Uber came along, it was, so you're not a kid. We're doing ride sharing. And everybody's like, what the hell is that? Like, nobody knew what ride, it's literally it's just picking up somebody in a car, point A to point B. It's what cabs did. Shopify, everybody was like, Toby, there's only like 40,000 online businesses. There's not a big market for that. And he's like, because we haven't given the tools for other people to go make online businesses. Everybody turned, like, he has this story of like hundreds of VCs turning him down or whatever. And he's like, they all turned me down because they're like, market's too small. Our coolest story was we got a girl from Atlanta, a pub deal, and then a record deal here in Nashville. She was like, I found your app, put my profile from Atlanta to Nashville, connected with a guy that had a pub deal. They wrote virtually, songs got pitched. A year and a half later, she sends Richard and I an email. She's come to 3rd and Lindsley this Friday. We were like, oh, you're in town? Like, I'd love to meet you in person. I'd love to get some content if that's cool, like about the story. And it was like, oh, no. Like, I'm getting signed to a record deal.
So the app that you and Richard started, we should write sometime.
Correct.
Deemed the Tinder for
Songwriters.
Tinder for Songwriters. Your interest in the economics of the music industry and your love for music coalesced with you and Richard Casper.
Yeah.
Starting this app that now has how many people?
So organically grown to 10,000 downloads, but active users is 8,500. And that's organic, no marketing budget, no campaigns. It's just like events, social media, being very scrappy.
Okay. So I want to stop you before we get into the app. I would love to talk economics of the music business.
Yeah.
Because lately I've been thinking about this. I don't know why, but I realized that everybody that I talk to that's not a musician makes money, and that everybody I talk to that's a musician or a songwriter, except for a very select few, don't make money. So you take music, business, take the music out, you're just left with business. And at the end of the day, and this isn't to be rude to the music business, but the bottom line is the bottom line, which is making money and growing.
Yeah.
And year over year growth as businesses.
For sure.
Because what is the goal of any business?
You got to make money, man.
You got to make money
to survive.
Yeah. And especially in, I would say, like global conglomerate type industries that are the Sonys, the Warners, the UMGs. So the economics of the music business are very interesting to me, because we're at a point where most people in town would tell you, I'm driving to Uber and whatever. Or like, I had a number one song, but it just recouped my draw, which means now I'm just broken even of the debt I was in to publishing company.
Which always was crazy to me that's how that structure was done. But I understand it. I understand it, but it was always crazy.
Yes. So I want you to tell me about some of the basics of the economics of the music industry that you've noticed and where you see things have gone maybe a little too far in the wrong direction.
One quote I always like to reference in these conversations, because I try to look at it as an outsider and go, I didn't start in the mailroom and work my way up at a big publishing company or a label or whatever. I just am obsessed with songwriters and technology. How do I help songwriters that to me are the most important part of the entire supply chain of the industry, but are treated and set up, frankly, the worst. And it's like they're the NVIDIA chip of the AI industry, where everything starts with them, but like they're not treated like NVIDIA chips, but it's like they're the beginning where everything, okay, you got to get songwriters in a room to write a song. Then we got to take that song, get an artist to play it, perform it, go do the thing. There's a supply chain of a song. But the way I've looked at it, in that quote I always reference, is when, Ashley Gorley said in an interview one time, it was a printed one, he was just like, there's no minor leagues in songwriting. And that always stuck out to me. And
Ashley has how many number ones now?
Like 85 or 80 plus approaching for sure. 100. 85. Yeah. I mean, and so that was an interesting thing to me as like a baseball guy that clicked internally for me and checked a lot of boxes where I go, that kind of makes sense to me. Because everybody comes here and then it's like, there's no structure, there's no pathway, there's no like stability place where songwriters starting out can go, I'm at, high school baseball to get to college baseball, to single A, to double A, to triple A, to the major leagues. It's just like, there's nothing. And it's like, you get signed and even to the point of the pub deals. And then you go, some of those are kind of crazy and screwed up too, just depending what the structure of those look like and how the economics of that work. So where I sit is I go, okay, if there's no minor leagues in songwriting,
which I would also call them middle class.
Middle and lower class, because there's far in our target demographic right now isn't the Ashley Gorleys to get on the app and find people to co-write with. They've got their network, they've got their crew. This is that when he was first starting. How do you find your team? How do you find your class that you're going to go up with and grow up with and collaborate with? And if you're not in Nashville, like how are you going to do that if you're in country, if you're in pop world and hip hop, and if you're in the UK? So it's like, we'd made all these songwriters from Canada that would come down during Tin Pan just to meet other songwriters to schedule rights to fly back down. And I was like, that's thousands of dollars when you could just get on the app and change your location and connect with songwriters. And like, that's how I met Parker, is like, I'm like the Tom of MySpace. I took a page out of his playbook. So it's like, I'm everyone's first connection. Like he was everyone's first friend. But it allows me to like have one-on-one connections and conversations with users about the industry. I get some funny questions that I can get into later. But Parker, she was in Canada, in Vancouver, and she was like, I found your app through social, got on it. She connected with me, or messaged me. We got on the phone that day and chatted for like 4 hours. She's like, I have so many ideas for this. And I was like, cool, and now she's here in Nashville pursuing it. But I say it because it's like, we just want to give tools to those songwriters and go, I'm not trying to compete with the current industry, if that makes sense. I'm trying to build this community to give songwriters this global home that they can come and collaborate and connect with. We have plans to monetize as a business, but also to help give songwriters opportunities that they frankly might not get otherwise. And so we can get into that.
Do you think songwriters need publishing deals?
In today's world, I mean, just given typically, if you're a songwriter, if you're an artist, it's different.
Do you think in the next decade, songwriters will need publishing deals?
That's a really good question. Because I frame it almost as like what I've seen is these big songwriters are starting a lot of their own publishing companies. And what I want to be able to help is those songwriters that get to a level very similar So what Shopify does for small business owners is takes a lot of the logistics and admin off the plate so that they can just go do the craft. I reference a lot of that, like the structure of what we're building, but also the sentiment of like, there's no minor leagues in songwriting. I go, how do we help build those leagues for those songwriters to then find other songwriters to have maybe new publishing deals? Looking at it a different way, where maybe it's not what the current publishing deals are now, but like a different version of that, akin to when Uber came along, it was, oh, so you're not we're doing ride sharing. And everybody's like, what the hell is that? Like nobody knew what it's literally it's just picking up somebody in a car, point A to point B. It's what cabs did. But they created this new thing called ride sharing that gave gig economy opportunities to everyday Joe Schmoes to make some extra cash on the side. Like there's things like that I constantly think about of what are the new economic models if we have enough songwriters that we're just helping be songwriters, what that looks like economically. I don't have the answers to it, but what I do know is how it's set up now is most songwriters that aren't at the top echelon aren't sitting there going, man, this is structured super well for us right now. Like we're crushing it.
Yeah, let's just be honest. I mean,
like what was done in the 90s, like
if you have a publishing deal now, like a first time draw, 30 to 40 grand a year, you're in like the poverty. What would that be called? The poverty class,
minimum
basically.
Wage, basically.
And so you still have to work another job.
Yeah.
And you can't just get cuts anymore. So you can't get people recording your songs. And the only way to make money is number ones. So even if you have like a top 10, you're still not going to make a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
This is what I see with the people that I've talked to, and the people that do make money are the ones that have number ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great.
Yeah.
But it's really, like you said, number ones are all they care about. I've talked to someone before and he said, I don't want to sign a writer that's going to write one number one. I want a songwriter that's going to write hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And that is where the mindset is of the music business on the publishing side. And I think if anybody tells you anything different, that they're lying.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun sitting in this spot and not having the like.
And by the way, I don't have a dog in the fight. This is pure observation.
Totally.
Kent Earls was on the podcast. He has Joy Beth Taylor. She has 10 songs on Ella Langley's new record, co-wrote Choosing Texas, biggest song in the world. I think it still just hit Billboard number one again or something.
Yeah.
And he says, when I sign someone, I try to give him 40 grand. And he said, I signed him for at least 3 years, knowing that it's going to be at least 3 years before they're at the point where their songs are good enough for a first-time writer to be able to write a number one.
Yeah.
And then when you get into that third and fourth year, then you're evaluating, like, are they getting a number one? Luckily for him, he has a great ear. He's been able, every single one of his songwriters has had a number one, and he's doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a smart, just cool, chill dude. But he was just honest about it.
Yeah.
I asked him, how much does a number one pay out on a co-write? He said about 125 grand after everybody gets their cut for a number one song. So that's just the reality of it. And that your chances of getting a number one are so low.
Yeah.
So this is just
Very
statistics.
Low. Totally.
So it's like the chances of getting a hit song, I think I used ChatGPT to do this, but it was like 0.0019% are the chances there. Yeah. And that is all based off of you making no money until you make money that gets you into a room with bigger artists and bigger writers and all that. So it's very much Jody Williams said on my podcast, another personal reference, because these are all not my words. He said, if you can do anything else but this, do it.
Yeah.
Anything else.
For sure.
Because the economics of pursuing a career in music is not like the 90s where you could be a lunchbox, whatever.
You get a
writer.
cut on an album in the 90s, just like a cut.
Yeah,
you know?
just
and
a
you're
song
like, hey,
recorded.
That's a salary for a year.
Yep. The word countrypolitan comes from a real era in country music, when Nashville took country music and made it elegant. Strings, background vocals, orchestra. It was country music with polish. Think Patsy Cline, Glenn Campbell, Tammy Wynette, George Jones, Charlie Pride. Songs that still had the ache and honesty of country, but dressed up with style. And that is exactly what this hotel feels like. The kind of place where every detail's been thought through. The scent when you walk in, the music, the clothes they carry, the textures, the rooms, the coffee cups, the way everything feels curated without feeling fake. So you feel the history immediately, but unlike staying right in the middle of Broadway, it feels tucked away, it feels calm, it feels like you found something. And that's honestly why I love it. It's where I go when I want to get away, think, slow down, have a restful time without technology. And when you're ready, the Ryman and Broadway are about a 4-minute walk. The Countrypolitan Hotel. Stay in the story.
That's where for us as a business, I'm not trying to go, we're going to compete against that and try to fix that. Like the other playbook I look at a lot is the guy that started Savannah Bananas and Jesse. And the way he has approached building something from the ground up, super scrappy, long time. His thing was, I'm putting fans first above anything else.
Explain what Savannah Banana is.
Do you know what like, have you followed them?
Is that the baseball thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they're selling out the biggest stadiums in the world. They have a 4.2 million person wait list to buy tickets. And so,
but why? Like, what is the...
So what he did was he basically said, I'm not trying to make a new baseball league or a new baseball team to compete against major leagues. I'm going to make like this new league that started in Savannah, and he's been working on it for 2 decades almost. And he's basically going to do, I'm going to do everything that I don't like about the major leagues is I'm going to do completely different. Like the advertisements, the entertainment, they're doing dancing, they're doing skits, they're doing all of these things that are just going to bring joy to fans. And it's
this is where you'll see like a bunch of dudes do the same dance.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a baseball game, but with like, it's like it's like an entertainment game, circus, dance thing, song stuff, like flamethrowers and all these crazy things. And then there's baseball game. But he has specific rules that this is what I don't like about the major leagues are these rules. And I'm going to make it 2 hours max. There's going to be trick plays. There's going to be points for trick plays. There's going to be all these things that like, there's no bunting. Like there's no, like there's no walk, like there's all these things that you go, this is what's boring about real baseball. I'm going to go build this own thing. But it took him forever. But everybody in baseball was like, in Major League Baseball was like, this is dumb. This is so stupid for a decade plus. Like nobody's going to want this. Nobody cares. This is silly. And now, guess who's trying to get them to come to their cities all the time because they're filling out every stadium in the world 10 times over. They filled out Nissan like 3 days in a row. I mean, they're filling out SEC stadiums. And they built their own ticketing system so that you can't third party sell it and screw and like upcharge anybody to like resell a ticket. And because he's like, I'm always putting fans first. Long-winded way of like, I've always respected that because people have always come to him and been like, you could make more money doing this, doing advertisement, doing like these things that baseball's always made money doing, contracts with the players. These aren't they aren't the major league players. Like they're good baseball players, but they're not the top tier. But they're like, okay, that's fine. We're not worried about that. I'm not trying to go make this like a scouting discovery thing. And if somebody happens to make it, great. But it's like, they got to be entertaining and doing backflips and like throwing balls with flames on. It's just crazy. Like a dude's pitching on stilts. It's wild, but like, it's for the fans. It's for entertainment. And so again, long way of saying part of what I love about that is like, he's like, I'm not listening to the current establishment being like, you can't do these things. But like his fans first motto is very close to us about putting songwriters first in anything. And it's, I could make more money by doing a lot of other things and charging songwriters for this and charging for courses and all these affiliate things coming to us and being like, I can help them be better songwriters. And then I look at their course list of what they're hawking, and course 3 or class 3 is like 5 hooks to get your song on the radio. And I'm like, that's not how this works. But I could easily sell that to my community, make some money just for me to pocket it now. But they're selling the false hope. Like, oh, you buy my course, you're going to be a famous songwriter and be rich and on the radio. I'm like, that's not how it works. But a lot of middle America that's pursue it, like, oh, I'm buying this course for $800. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it now. And then, as we all know, what was on the radio 2 years ago isn't what's on the radio now, and all these things. And so I'm not even messing with that stuff. I'm going to like solve the very first problem, which is songwriters need to find people to write music with. And over the course of time, we know that, okay, when you connect with somebody, when can you write with them? Well, let's make that part easier so that they can put their calendars together.
Behind this, by the way,
yeah.
In order to be able to develop an app that you can work on and scale, you had to do something, I would imagine, which is make money or have money of some sort to be able to do it. Because I know that you've done some kind of funding. I don't know the arrangement. I just remember you helping me work on projections once.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. And I was like, dang, because you've been in this, you've immersed yourself into it, and from your business background, you have learned a lot of stuff about that. But how did you go about starting an app?
Yep.
And like, I'm just curious about the funding part and the rounds of funding a little bit, just for context for people.
For sure.
Because it's very like altruistic to be like, I want to make an app for songwriters so they can write together and it's free to them and it's going to help them and they can date. And, that's great and all. But like, oh, I have an idea for an app, but I have no money. So I don't think that's going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you definitely need money. So you need a lot of money.
So how much? So can we get into that part too before we go crazy far into
100%. Because like the last thing I want to do is like pitch, here's the features we're rolling. It's like, look, songwriters first, we're going to help them, but we got a long way to go. But starting it was, okay, we have an idea. Let's first with Richard and I, like, is there other apps out there that do the same thing? What does the competitive analysis look like? Are there other things? And
so you look at the market
and say, what are people doing now to solve this problem that I keep hearing about, that Richard's talking about, every songwriter saying, I didn't have my crew, it took me a while. Finding the right co-writer is a lot like dating. You get in a room and it's just like, you're a great person, but this isn't going to work. Bad dates, right? So how many bad dates have people been on to find the right one? And I go, if we can minimize that, a lot of these inefficient things are a part of the reason why I go, no wonder it's a 10-year town. It takes years just to find the right people to start the right stuff. And I was like, so if we can kind of cut that down in the very beginning, but how are people doing it now, right? And a lot of it is, oh, you got to go out and network. Well, okay, so if you're not in Nashville, you got to come here. And I'm using Nashville just
so you did a competitive analysis against the market.
Competitive analysis against the market. And then, okay, what are people doing now? And there's Facebook groups, there's organizations that have pieces of, there's NSAI has chapters all over the place. Part of what they do is connect songwriters. So you have to have a membership with NSAI. PROs have some people that want to help you connect, but there wasn't anything.
A lot of barriers to entry.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that we saw that was specific for songwriters connecting in a simple way that's app-based, which is like, when we first started the idea in 2018, of like, what other app, everybody was using apps, and still do obviously, but like, what other app is specifically to help songwriters connect with each other? And there was some that just had arms, like little pieces of a side. Hey, we want to help you find a producer and a drum player and a bass player and also songwriters. But we always said, no. We just want to be so niche and focused on this one problem and start there. And so once I had my full-time job, and I had in my brain, once we started this, going, I want to get to a place where financially I can be totally cool not having a job for a year and live my lifestyle and fund all the stuff and just live without making a dime. And so on the app front, so Richard and I go, all right, we need someone to develop the app. And a good buddy of mine at the time lived here in I grew up with him in Cincinnati. He actually lives here in Nashville and did development work. And so I said, hey, Richard and I have this idea, do you want to be the developer on it? We'll pay you X amount of dollars, give you X percentage of equity. We'll give you half the money up front, half the money when you complete just the MVP version, just like a functioning demo. And at that time, there wasn't AI and vibe coding and all these things. Like in my office, you can see the white paper, like the big sheets of Richard and I drawing out what it looked like on day one. And now you can just type it in. But anyway, and he was like, I'm in. And so, okay, great. We knew that out of our pocket, here's going to be this money that, I knew I was very willing to sacrifice and go, hey, we got to make, if he's in, then we got to make operating agreement, form a company. All right, what's it going to be called? And so you need legal paperwork. So we got to have a lawyer draft up an LLC. You have to have agreements with the developer. Like, this is how much we're going to pay you and how. And so that's all money that came out of our pockets. And we were like, this is our baby. And we're not in a position yet to go, like, you could have gone and probably raised a little bit of money, but then you're giving up a lot of equity because it's so early and so risky. So the more risky it is, the more you got to be willing to give up in equity.
So basically, you're just creating proof of concept.
Yeah. In the very early stage, it was, we need someone to develop this so that we can see if it works, start getting feedback from people. And that's obviously past like us doing the market analysis.
Yeah,
There's not anything.
So then what's the next step? So where does the I need money come in?
About 8 months in, so I go buy a new MacBook, give it to the developer because you need him to work on it because he's got a full-time job too. And about 8 months in, every 2 weeks we're meeting at Double Dogs in Hillsborough just to go over like this 2-week sprint. Like, what did we build out? What does the design look like? What does those features look like? What color palettes? Like all these things. Just very detailed. And okay, great. Let's talk about this. As they're building the back end infrastructure, he had to bring on somebody else to kind of help with the back end dev work. 8 months in, I get an email from him and he says, hey, Kev, like, this is the hardest email I've ever had to write. I don't think I can do this anymore. Just a couple reasons. Like he didn't think he could deliver a product that he could put his name on in the time that we had set out. And he thought, I don't want to put my name on something and take all this money and equity from you and not deliver on it and feel good about it. And also, like, I've known you since we were kids. I don't want to ruin our friendship kind of thing. And so I was like, well, what the heck, man? We've been working on this for 8 months. I look back now and go, thank God that happened because it forced us, me and Richard, to go, we got to get our stuff together. Business plan, go get a real dev shop. Like, in a lot of people will be like, you need an internal CTO.
Can you explain development?
So someone that's going to develop the app, just the front end, the back end, make sure that it works, and then what it looks like, how it functions, how the features work. Because it's like building a car, basically. You need someone to build the engine and you need someone to make it look nice. And then, we go sell the car. And a lot of companies and people will say, or a lot of people will be like, you need to have the technical founder that's building and coding all day, every day. And I can get to that later. But we said, look, like, we now know we got to go get a dev shop that's going to basically charge us an hourly rate to build this, which is going to be more money, which we knew that we were going to support the early on stuff, but we also knew we needed kind of some early, what they call incorporation checks, like a very early, 25, 50K check for somebody that's going to invest just to get it off the ground, get an MVP, not necessarily even in beta yet, just a working prototype, basically. Because you need...
What's an MVP?
Minimal viable product. Okay. And so it's like, you'll see these, like, not even, it's like pre-beta, where it's like, if you get to beta, they're still testing stuff to see if it works great, just to get feedback. MVP is like, what is the core thing it needs to do? It doesn't have to look all shiny. Does the car turn on? Like, does it move? We haven't put the hood on yet. Like, we don't have mirrors. Like, just, does the car work? And so having to get that out there. And then this way it's, as you're doing that, having a lot of, like beta testers, like Ward from Whiskey Jam and some other people, like, just give us your feedback, what needs to be tweaked and fixed and all this stuff. And all the while, it's like every week, this is costing money because you have to pay people to build it.
So have you gotten funding at this point?
Yeah. And so
how did you do that? Is this friends and family round?
early on was friends and family round. And then some sporadic checks early, just kind of incorporation checks, and then a couple here and there as we're kind of also self-funding it.
Is that all from your network?
All from our network, mostly Richard's network early on, just because his relationships within Nashville, within creative vets of just, hey, we trust Richard and what he's building, and we know that this is a problem. It's not a ton of money. It's just, but getting in something early, like there's plenty of cases you hear in Silicon Valley of like 25K turning into 100 million. Like those aren't my expectations for those type of things because of our market size, but like early checks are risky. So they're going to get more equity than what we're doing now. But typically it's, okay, we've got an idea, get investors to get that out the door. And then now we've got the idea, we got to get a little bit more money, which is like an angel round, friends and family round.
So if you don't mind me asking,
Please.
What was the number that you needed to raise to really be able to do it right?
Like 200K was like around 200K was our like friends and family angel round.
Okay. So 8 months in, you have massive exposure because you're like all of a sudden, which is a good thing. Well, not massive, but a form of exposure because your guy that was building your app all of a sudden can't do it anymore. And you're like, oh crap. We're exposed because we have this one person that is building this thing. So now we have to find someone else that can build
a real company.
Yeah.
And I look back and go, thank God that happened, because my naivete to it of just learning of building an app, there's always things that are going to go wrong. Even and you can do testing all day long, but when there's a bug or, you'll see things happen with Instagram and you're like, it went down. And like, sometimes I secretly like when that happens because I'm like, they're, $1 trillion company and there's issues that they're having. So like as a startup, it's, it's all part of it. But I didn't know, he had 2 young kids, moving houses. When was he going to find the problem and then code and fix it? And then so we can update and release it like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It could take weeks, right? And so when you go, we need a business plan. We were trying to do way too much, way too early instead of the core stuff. So like that whole disappointment of, hey man, we've been working on this for 8 months. Like we had initially thought we were going to build things that we're testing now, 6 years later, because we're trying to do too much too early. Like just get the core thing out there. And so like a lot of good advisors and people who I trust in the tech field and that I've known just are like, you guys are doing too much, man. Like these are cool features. Like you got to build the house first. You don't need the hot tub or the pool yet. Like just build the house. Like just go live in the house for a while and then see what you need. It's like, all right, that makes sense.
So is this when you had to like swallow the pill of this is going to take a lot longer than I thought?
A lot longer and a lot more money.
And what was that feeling for you?
It was at the time super exciting, super scary because I knew I was going all in just because after my buddy had to stop development, we got the developer and we saw what was happening and it's just like early traction, us actually solving a problem. I knew like this is going to be the thing for me. Like I'm going all in. And so as we're raising money, I have to live, right? And I didn't pay myself anything for almost 16 months. And so I had to call my guy at Merrill and be like, hey man, good buddy of mine. I was like, I'm cashing everything out, massive haircut. But he goes, my financial hat says this is stupid. But my friend hat says, well, go do it. Because if you believe in it and you're going to go make it happen, what you're giving up now is going to be worth so much more in the future because you're not giving that up in equity that you would have to go get. You're betting on yourself. And so, if it's not for us, this isn't a house flip that I want to like 3x our investors' money in 3 years. Like I want to 300x their money in 10 plus years, but it's going to take a long time. We got to do it the right way. But like early on, I mean, and God love talk about my wife all day long, just her support in this. But when I first met her, it was like 6 months after I got fired from my tech job, because I was working on the app. And they were like, you haven't sold much in the last couple of years. I was like, yeah, tough market. I'm like, nah, everybody else is doing just fine. It just seems to be you. And I was like, no, it's the South. Like, the South's really tough. And they were like, no. And so I kind of had planned for that, right? I was like, look, there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to support myself, but also put money into the company. But that's fine. Like, this is it. But those are, to me, that.
How was your wife in all of this? Was she like, get it, baby?
Or I met her like 6 months after I got fired. And this is where I could spend a 3-hour podcast of telling how much I appreciate her support and love throughout this journey. But, like, I'd be on the streets. She's my little sugar mama.
Yeah.
She was first question, like, she's my age too. And I'd been through a lot of relationships that my therapist would say, you have a pattern, and that's a whole other conversation. But my wife was like, first day was like, what are your red flags? Kind of thing. And I just laughed and I was like, well, I don't have health insurance. I'm starting my own company. I'm putting every dime I've ever made into it, plus a lot more. And, she was like, well, it's a good thing I don't really need you. And I was like, oh, this. And so, being like, she's good. Like, she's way smarter than me. Engineer, went to Vanderbilt, like, works at Nissan. She's awesome. But also is that part of it is the motivating piece of like her support for me. Not that I don't need my own internal motivation, but like to give back to her the support that she's given me the last, 6 years between dating and then engagement and marriage. But like, I want to give her back the life that she's allowed me to live tenfold, but it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a lot of time, but it's still one of those where, that's where a lot of failed relationships, but also prayer and who is supposed to be in my life at this stage. And because it ain't easy. Like, she'd be like, hey, can you stop going to play basketball until we're married? Because you come home and you're all dinged up. You don't have health insurance, dude. Like, you wait till we're married so I can get you health insurance. And so
she's supportive.
Amazing
during this time. Okay.
Still.
So she's supportive. You all meet. Now you've been together and married 6 years?
Married 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
We started dating like 2 weeks before COVID started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so I basically
know each other real well during that time.
Real well.
So in all, 8 years for the company currently.
Yeah, I would say we launched like out of beta right before COVID, right? So we had to raise some cash to get it ready out the door. 200K? Around there just was kind of that early stage. And then we said, okay, now we're taking this, the company's live, the users are coming. We had some really good press from Rolling Stone and Forbes and Billboard, just organically, just because it was like, it was just stuff that they had seen that was going well, and we didn't pay for the PR at all. It just was like, this is cool. And like, I still am not great at talking about it, just because of how hard it was for a lot of our friends in the industry where it shut down. But for us, it was right place, right time. Super lucky and grateful because it kind of forced people to feel comfortable connecting remotely in that whole Zoom world. And so there's a lot of people that were like, man, you can kind of co-write anywhere. It's not like setting up a whole band and having to like plug in and do the sound and make sure that sounds good. It's like, you can write with anybody anywhere. And now we're comfortable with the Zoom thing. And so we had a lot of great exposure, a lot of great organic growth of users that came on just because they were like, we need to find people to connect with. And, I know songwriters in Franklin that are like, man, because they have a relationship, I don't want to drive down 65 and go to Music Row if like we're just needing to hammer out the end of a song or pick up where we left off or wherever, because they're comfortable with that piece. But you can't replace the in the room chemistry dynamic part of it. But for us, being launched, COVID happening, a lot of user growth. Now it's okay, great. We need to grow this thing. We got to grow as a business. We got to make sure our business plans looks good, projections look good, how we're going to get there, how much money we need to get there. And so that angel friends and family round got us out the door, got us to a place where now the users have come on. Now we go, we need to grow the team, we need to grow the platform and actually spend money on user acquisition to really grow it from 8,000 to 80,000 to, 500,000. We don't need 20 million songwriters to make this a very successful business. Again, our whole thing is we got to do what's right for the songwriter first and not just blow it out and go, hey, great, we got 10 million songwriters on here and they never come back to it.
If you've ever wondered why you see that little Frenchie in every episode of my podcast, it's there for a reason. What I care about here is real conversation, real people, and real human connection. That's why partnering with Studio Bank made sense to me. Their mission is to empower creators. And they say that little Frenchie is more than just a logo. It's smart, active, adaptable, and a natural companion. Sophisticated, but not pompous. Rare and one of a kind. That felt like a real fit for this podcast and this show and what I'm all about. And if you're around Music Row, you've probably heard of Studio Bank or know someone that bangs with them. And there's a reason for that. They set out to rethink the typical experience, put people at the center of it, infuse innovative technology with genuine hospitality. Their whole idea is to be uncommonly modern and surprisingly human. That's a big part of why I'm proud to partner with them. They do not make you feel like a number. You get real people, real support, and a team that actually cares about what you're building, whether that's your business, your family, or your future. They also offer immediate ATM fee reversal at any ATM machine in the entire world. That's why a lot of my friends that are on the road bank with them. Visit studiobank.com or call 615-338-9998. Let them know Stephen Hogan sent you and see how Studio Bank can serve you today. Studio Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. So how hard is the fundraising part? Because this is something I'm super interested in still. Because I think everybody that's presented with the opportunity to have some money at some point in their career. Mm-hmm. You look at record deals, you get an advance.
Yeah.
You get publishing deals, you get a draw. You're just going into debt that you're going to have to pay back. Yep. However, it is the risk that you're taking. But people, when they see a company or something, they're a little more comfortable investing in it because they see the upside potential. They believe in the product, etc. Proof of concept, once again, and everything that you can show them. Yep. So when does that next funding step take? And how much, what I'm curious about is, because I hear I listen to a lot of interviews that are founders. And a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, we started and we had like a $2 million investment or we had a $3 million investment. And you have to have money in order to start a business to be able to do it the right way. These are people that have built the NVIDIAs or whatever, you know, like some big tech people or like Dana White starting in the UFC and he had those investor brothers or whatever. They dropped $2 million and there was money to build something. Yeah. And I often think of the person that is creating from a place of nothing to get to the point where you can ask for money. Yeah. And then where's that point where you're like, all right, now we need to get a bunch more money. Yeah. Because it really, correct me if I'm wrong, but in order to get it to where you want it to be, you have to have funding. And when you're not charging a songwriter $9.99 a month, that's the key. You have to have money coming in from somewhere. Yeah. So how hard is it? And how much time goes into the fundraising part? Yeah. I can't wait to not be fundraising, but I know that if my mission was to just flip this, sell out, and just go golf and play, and just do whatever in 5 years, but I don't, that's not what I want. So you could do that. I could charge songwriters to download the app and then I could get to profitability much faster if I do it where it's not the songwriter first approach. And again, I'm building a business to make money and make a lot of money for us and our investors and do it they all know, because it's very difficult to find the right investor. Because if you're looking for venture money, that's a different conversation than an angel investor or a high net worth individual or maybe some family offices, where that conversation is, this is going to be a long-term thing. This isn't where I need to hit some metric
to unlock, this is how you're going to get more money is if you hit these metrics, and then they force us to do things that aren't putting the songwriter or creative first. Now we're going completely against our mission and vision. And so it's just a matter of alignment in the capital that you're bringing in, but also you not trying to raise so much that you're diluted. So as the next round. That. So if someone invests money,
let's just say $1 million. Someone drops $1 million into your company.
So,
just hypothetically, it doesn't even have to be your company.
Yeah, because
help us understand the economics of investing.
So if someone gives you $1 million and they're like Shark Tank, and they're like, I want, if it's early stage and it's to give you $1 million, I get 50% of the company. And it's like, well, it's early stage. So that makes a lot of sense. But if I give you $1 million and I own 50% of the company and you need more money in the future, then you're going to have to go get more money. And then that dilutes your stake and my stake. And so depending how much you raise is going to dilute your company. And there's a valuation that comes with it. So it's 50% of a company at $1 million, then, you're worth $2 million. And so if you keep raising money, then that valuation you want to go up in conjunction with how much equity you're giving up to make it make sense. And so as I bring in money from my investors, I know that that's coming from myself, Richard, and even our earlier investors. But as we grow the company, grow the product, grow the user base, we're making some cash, getting some revenue, the valuation goes up, even though it dilutes us in equity. The value of the company goes way up. So they're like, this is great. We want you to grow and scale, even though I'm taking some of your equity as we keep raising rounds. That's why it's important to know if I take money from people, what does that mean economically from a dilution perspective so that I don't get squeezed out? Because this will happen a lot of times when
this is when you have no ownership, or you have the majority share of your company anymore.
And so people will raise a ton of money and they'll raise too much. And then they won't hit the metrics. And then now, if they take VC money, sometimes they'll be on the board, and the board
they can get kicked out of their own company.
It happens a lot. And so we're just where we sit, and that's not the best example explaining all of that because there's just so much nuance to it. But it's the simplest way is if you take money from somebody, they get a piece of your company, and it comes from you, the founders, and your earlier investors typically. But you want to make sure as you raise more rounds of funding that your valuation goes way up so that your early investors are like, hey, even though I may have initially owned 10% at $2 million, man, go raise more money if that's what you're doing. And I go down to 7%, but now my value of the company is 10x or whatever that looks like. Totally fine. But why
does their amount go down?
Why does their equity go down?
If I invested $1 million and I own 10%, then someone else invested $1 million, would I still own my 10%?
Well, if it was at the same terms
so there's terms with investments.
So there's a lot of, and that's where it gets
nuance. Because I'm naive.
There's a lot of variables involved with it. It's when it's done, how it's done, what the vehicle is, how much, and that's where you'll see negotiations on a Shark Tank where they're like, what if I gave it to you in advisory shares? And that's a whole other way to not manipulate, but control what they call the cap table of who owns what of the company. And so having a good handle on how much equity each of the founders and early investors own as you raise more money is really important, because you don't want to then raise a bunch of money and then realize 3 years down the road, we don't own much of the company at all.
Yeah. Shoot, Jenny gave me 10 grand for 10%. And
you're like, oh man.
She still owns 10%.
And there's things that people would say, I want anti-dilution rights, which means no matter how much money you raise, I never get diluted. And so there's all these things in the fine print where, depending if you're going for the venture route, but usually angels.
What's the difference between
venture? Venture is a fund that will have what they call LPs, limited partners, that are also high net worth individuals that give money to the fund for the fund to then invest into companies.
So someone has a fund, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors to be able to deploy the money to have it come back and make babies.
And what they're banking on is like, it's not, I equate it a lot to like labels sometimes with artists going, I need the one artist to pop off to cover all my losses with the rest of the artists. So they'll put these bets in, a lot of AI plays. Like, hey, we're going to put $1 million into 10 AI companies, really hoping one of them returns the fund 100x. With the expectation, 9 out of 10 of you are going to fail. And so they're just betting. And so, but the money that they're investing comes from other people. And then the fund is, the smart guys that, do due diligence on these companies and say, I'm making bets on these companies to kill it.
Yeah. Side note, Kip Moore was on the podcast. He said that exact thing. He was like, I was one of the higher grossing artists for the company and I felt like they weren't giving me the attention. And so I was like looking at, what they were doing for everybody else, but looking at how much we were generating. And at the end of the day, he was like, the deal with UMG, he left because he was like, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let them fund everybody else off of me when they're not putting the work in for me that they are for everybody else.
Yeah. I have
you know what I'm saying?
100%. I mean,
and that's an interesting parallel, but it makes a lot of sense.
It's exactly right, because where we sit, we aren't looking for venture money, and we don't fit the model, because to your point of the fiduciary responsibility, they have, an equation. They basically go, does the money that we're investing, can it return the fund and return money to us for it to make sense in the amount of time that we need it to make sense by? And they have a thesis and, a way that they judge those things. And we don't fit those models because we're like, I'm not, and I get it. And it's funny because we started raising our seed round of funding. And so that's what we're in the middle of now.
So what round is that? How many rounds in is
so this is a 1.5, it's not much, 1.5 million. And I say not much in the scheme of like seed rounds in Silicon Valley is like 10 million. But like for us, we don't want to raise that much for reasons I kind of mentioned, but also like this is going to set us up nicely for us to get to the next layer that we expect to in terms of the product, the users, and the revenue, to then probably do one more round of funding and then get to profitability and not need money again and be self-funded. So the goal, ideally, of any company is not to need investors. It's to build something that you can just make a profit and self-fund the business and grow the business. But there's a balance there of like, how you want to do that and how you get there is a different thing. Whether it's a consumer-based app like Instagram, it's free, but how do they make money? There's the network play, or there's the B2B stuff on the enterprise side. There's different ways to make money. And so like on the funding side, we go, okay, we raised kind of an angel friend and family round. Now we're set up nicely. We need to raise money to grow the team because I need help. It's just like growing a podcast. You're like, man, we need editors. We need all these people now because there's traction there. We need to grow the team. That's going to help fuel growth because of, all the other things that are going to happen. We need to actually spend money on user acquisition stuff. Grow from 8,000 to 80,000. Well, what's our customer acquisition cost? What's that going to look like? From influencers, songwriters, posting about us, events, whatever that looks like. And then we got to build the product and finish out the things that we're building next that are going to help bring songwriters back to the app, be a publisher in their pocket for those that don't have publishers. So we're excited about what we're building for users there. But on the business side, it's like, how do we help them get back to what they used to do and love to do? And this is a blanket statement where I've met with a lot of publishers, and they spend 90% of their time on admin and logistics and not the A&R creative stuff that they want to be doing, which they got in the business for. Now it's calendars and trying to keep track of data and song management stuff. I'm like, that's where that Shopify model parallel comes in. It's like, we can help with that, but we got to build it. And then that's in turn for us going to help us go, this money is going to get us out the door and to hit these metrics to then raise that next round of funding and then get to profitability. Because, to Kip's point, it's one of those like the venture guys that wanted to invest money in us. And we've had people say, I'll give you the money. You need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, that's to fit your model. It's not, and I get it. It's not in our mission to do that because it's going to go against the songwriter first value that we have, because we need to just grow the community. That's all. Like, we just grow the songwriters to connect, help them do that. And then everything else will come after that. But if you're forcing me to do these things that are going to make people go, man, you're just like everybody else now. That's the risk I'm willing to take. And why, from an investment perspective, there's like 3 buckets that have invested with us. Very strategic music people, some that own publishing companies, independent publishing companies that see and understand the data side, that love the growth part of it, but also know that like I'm not trying to like take their jobs. It's like they see the opportunity there. There's presidents of sync companies, there's managers of big artists. So there's strategic people that have been around enough. And then there's kind of the business folks that have done startups. They're come from the finance world or the tech world that are angel investors that go, I love this. I want to help in the marketing world or the business world or finance. I don't know much about music that much, but we know that you've got a good advisory board and good investors that come from music. Then we've got kind of passive, flyer investors, NFL players and doctors that just like want to be a part of, because they have a passion for songwriting and music and helping. And they're like, I want to be a part of this. If I can help, great. I don't know how much I can help, but here's some I had one investor that was a connection through a current investor, and he asked me the question that none of them have ever asked me, where he said, what % do you put on this succeeding to the level that you expect? And I was like, that's a great question. And nobody's asked me that. And I said, well, if I were to sit here and try to sell you and be like 100% to the moon, we're going to crush it, guaranteed, either invest or get up, you're going to know I'm full of it probably. I said, I don't know what % you want to put on this. I personally have no other option. This has to succeed. And to what level, we're not sure yet. But to the level that I expect, there's no reason we can't get there. There's nothing that I'm going, it's going to take a long time and a lot of work, and it's going to be a grind for a very long time. But that to me isn't the like, oh, this is going to be so, it's like, I love that part of it because it's what we're building. And I was like, but me personally, I have no other option for all my cash is in here, plus a lot more the other way. And I want to give back to the supporting people that are in my life. I got to make it work. And so I was like, I don't know what % you want to put on that. And he just paused for like, 5 seconds, kind of long. Cause you're like, oh man, what's he going to say? He goes, sending a check tomorrow. And I was like, oh, all right. And I was like, well, you can just wire it. And he was like, no, like I'm going to physically write a check. It's like, okay. It's like, it's fine, but you can just wire it. But, it's a lot of those conversations.
Artists, managers, labels. Are you looking for a high quality, affordable merch item your biggest fans will actually buy? Custom branded merch guitars from the Graphic Guitar Guys are one of the highest grossing tour products, often second only to t-shirts with 300 to 400% markups. They're an easy way to brand specific tours, albums, or a special project, and not offering them leaves real money on the table at any career level. With unbeatable pricing, top-tier quality, fast turnaround times, and hands-on customer service, the Graphic Guitar Guys work with everyone from stadium acts to bands touring in a van. Do yourself or your artist a favor and see what the Graphic Guitar Guys can do for you. Hey, a quick thing you said, I put a lot of my own money into it and the other way.
Oh, yeah. Like debt, for sure. Because it was, all right, a the long-term play is this isn't going to matter, but I need to make sure I can pay bills in some capacity. And there were times where we needed more cash. And I was like, well, I got to fund it somehow. I got to fund me living somehow. And, I pay myself probably an eighth of what I used to make at my tech company, but that's normal. That wasn't, it's not a surprise, but it was like, I'm not doing this, and going into debt being like, oh, I hope that goes away. It's like, oh, that's a motivator for sure. And I try to make sure I do my best to contribute at home and all those things. But like, I know that it's not at the level that I can't wait to get to 5-10 years down the road. And so, yeah, those long nights and.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to ask, because I think a lot of people are in that position. I think there's a lot of people just using credit card debt to live just because life's so expensive, period. Sure. Like outside of trying to build a business.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people could just relate with the pressure of that, but also knowing like for a business person or for me in the podcast with Haley, it's like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but also like what's the long play? Yeah. And that's where I keep my eyes fixed, So I'm with you on that. But what was one of the times or the hardest times in this whole process so far where you were like, I have no clue how this is going to continue going, or like I can't sleep for X amount of weeks and I need a mouth guard because I'm grinding my teeth. Like when has been a point where you were like, I want to quit?
There was a moment when the 8 months were going on with the early developer and he was like, I can't do it. There was like a day or two where I was like, well, we tried, but there was just like, I guess, it's just not in the car. And I was like, no, that's, I'm going to sulk for 24 hours. But that was like a quick moment of just, oh gosh, man, I feel like we just wasted 8 months. And I'm like, thank God there was just something in me that was like, no, this is what you're supposed to go do. Like this is the reason you didn't do things early on that you were offered in your career, opportunities that would have paid out a lot, i.e. early Uber opportunities, just because I grew up with or went to college with a bunch of early Uber guys, and there was opportunities to work there before it even got to Ohio. And that would have set, and I know, this set me up forever. But I was like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't love logistics and, like that whole, it just wasn't the right timing. And God was like, dude, no. Just patience. Like, you don't love this. Like, you wouldn't live and breathe and eat that. You can look back now and go, man, you'd be set for life. And it's like, no kidding. Like, there's so many things. It was like, yeah, if I invested in Bitcoin at $1, when it was like whatever. Can't look at it that way. At least I don't. But I mean, there was a time between that angel round and starting the seed round where it was like, we got into a accelerator at a DC because Richard being a veteran, and we were just going to start this seed round of funding to raise a bunch of money. And so that there was like a little bit of comfortability. We've got the cash we need to go build it. And an accelerator's like, a bunch of companies come together and, they have this one particularly was out of DC, and they pay for it. They fly you out, all these companies out to DC. It's like a 4-day kind of like, it's like a camp for startups. And then it's 8 weeks of classes, virtual stuff. And then at the end of it, they kind of have a demo day for you to pitch in front of a bunch of VCs and funds so that you get funded and you're good. And so, that's a lot of time. And it's not like we raised a ton of money in the angel round. So it was like it went all to the company pretty much. And it was just for me to pay like interest on the credit cards, like just, all right. And so we were super excited about this accelerator. There was a couple funds that were already like, hey, we're really interested to meet with you guys. We're excited for you to go through the whole thing. Because the goal is for them to bring all these companies together and then get them funded. And then it looks good for their accelerator and like, all these things. And so went through that. A couple funds came out. like 6 weeks of due diligence with us, which is hammering on projections and numbers and scalability, all this stuff. And then that was right when Silicon Valley Bank crashed. And so that was a big shock to the system. And then what they call like post ZERP era, which was like zero interest. So like money was basically free at that time. And then Silicon Valley Bank happened. And then if you were going to borrow money or get money, like it was basically, there was no interest. So money was flowing everywhere, but timing was terrible for that. And so like we didn't get any funding. We spent probably 8 months to a year trying to track down these VC guys because we got into this accelerator that was supposed to be the catalyst for all the funding. So we basically wasted a year, but during that time, like we still had to like bootstrap and put our own money into the product, like hosting fees and all these things that like are behind the scenes costing us. I mean, there's plenty of times I was like, something needs to happen within the week, or I'm gonna have to do something, make some phone calls that like I don't want to make for pride reasons, but also just for like, I can do this. And so there was a handful of those moments in that year of like, we're told we're VC backable. We're in this program. That didn't happen. None of the companies did. So it wasn't like just us where we're like, there's 9 companies that got funded. Like no companies got anything. But there was a lot of that time where we're like, what is missing? What are we not realizing how to do this? And as soon as we flipped it to not chasing VC money, just getting those believers and those investors that I go to Bezos when he raised his seed round, he'll always say like, he raised $1 million from 30 different people, about $50K a pop. Now everybody in the world would give him $1 million and try to give him $2, $5, $10 million at that time. But that's how he did it. And he was like, look, people looked at online books and were like, dude, what is that? That's so stupid. Long vision. And it's like, all right, well, good luck trying to compete against that now. But it's starting with that niche part of it. And so we're like, just the whole thing of, I have no other option is the truest statement I can say about this whole thing is it has to work. And so, VC money was something I wasn't going to like keep chasing. And so what's funny now is just some of the communities I'm in Nashville, and got a lot of friends that are in funds and VCs, and they'll ask me about it and be like, hey, I'd love to hear more about it. And I go, let's not. I was like, I'm not interested in VC money. I get more people following up to ask me to coffee and lunch when I tell them I don't want their money than when I was like pursuing it, which is life itself, which is really funny. God, I want that money.
Yeah, like when you want the thing, it doesn't happen. Then when you release the thing, it happens.
Yeah.
I saw this monk dude on Diary of His CEO hold up his beads.
Love that.
And he was like, he was like,
I've seen that.
Have you seen that, dude?
Yeah.
He's like, when you want it.
Yes.
And he lets go of it and they swing the other way.
Yep. I've seen
and
that.
He's like, when you don't want it and you let go.
Yeah.
And he pushes it out and then you see it swings in. And I was like, what a principle, what a thought.
It's so simple.
I've experienced it in my own life.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah. I mean, there's countless times in us building this. And I look at Richard too as kind of this X factor that, you've met him, like whenever we give talks, I go, I'm talking first, dude, because I can't follow you. Like for what you're doing, you're saving lives, but what he brings as a co-founder is something that like you can't put a price tag on. When people are like, what's the team? And I go, because as we talked about earlier, that like the relationship part of this business is so important. Where like, I always joke, I'm like, Vince Gill calls Richard. He didn't call me. But being able to have that network and that connection because of who he is and the trust he's built with Creative Vets and the amazing work that they've done, he hasn't even unleashed what we're building to a lot of his network because we want to get this to a place where it brings value to them. And we're not there yet because, as you know, some of these people, you get one shot. And you don't want to be like, hey, we're doing this thing. And they're like, oh, let me use it. And you're like, well, it's not ready yet. You're like, well, now you're just wasting my time, man. And so as you know, like trying to get somebody to answer you, call you, get a meeting with you, like can be very challenging. And so for him, like he has been one of those things where on my like pitch decks where I was like, he's our conversion multiplier, where like you can't put like, oh, he brings just creativity and network. It is a 20-year Nashville relationship condensed into Richard that like would take me, 20 years to build those relationships. And so like, that's why having him and what he's built has been something that like, I needed, was that network piece, but also just him as a co-founder and his goofiness and dad jokes like is amazing.
And his purity behind why he started Creative Vets in the first place.
Totally.
So the heart behind it.
Oh, yeah.
And the heart behind you and my conversation with you the other day, where I was like, bro, you should be doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And
I loved it.
But the thing was, you were like, nope, I'm not doing that because that is not Songwriter first.
No.
And I was like, but.
No,
all that to say, dude, there's a level of that I want to serve people factor that I hear. I mean, I'm no expert, but I hear that when your mission is to help people, and that's where you kind of like keep your eyes on that everything works out.
Yeah. I go, I have no doubt what we're doing, like all day, every day. But I go, God, you have a plan. God laughs a lot. And he's like, dude, and I struggle with that too. Cause it's like, how it's a grind. It's a long grind. And I go, man, in the scheme of life, like I haven't even sniffed the grind to me personally, just like how many years I've lived and started this and actually been like, okay, how do we make this a real successful, growing business startup helping these things? I was like, this is a small part of it, but like, it can feel like it's the whole life. Like, man, I've been grinding forever. It's like 5 years. It's like, they call us a 10-year town. And it's like, well, again, like I think just logistically it takes 5 years to do anything. So let's help that part so that creatively you can do it faster. But for us, it's like, man, I look at all these startups or what the big ZERP era or the big Mag 7 companies like the Facebook, Instagram, what they started out as. And it was just like these little niche things. And Uber was a black car service that everybody was like, no, man, like no one, small market. Shopify, everybody was like, Toby, there's only like 40,000 online businesses. There's not a big market for that. And he's like, because we haven't given the tools for other people to go make online businesses. Everybody turned, like he has this story of like hundreds of VCs turning him down or whatever. And he's like, they all turned me down because they're like, market's too small. And he's like, guess who called me after a while? All of them that were like, yeah, we missed that one because you were giving the tools for people to make online businesses better and grow them and all those things. So I pull a lot of those pieces of like Parker and Presley that work for me, like on our team, they're allowed to punch me square in the face. If I ever on calls or in meetings say like revolutionize and disrupt and we're going to change. It's like, you're allowed to punch me square in the face if I say that stuff. I was like, we're trying to do our own thing. Because I think most songwriters now will be like, it ain't what it was. And there's not a lot of incentive for it to change with the people that are controlling the economics of it. So why would I try to fight that? Let's just build our own thing. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, I just watched an interview with Jimmy Iovine, and he was like talking about being an Interscope and wanting to do something for beats. And essentially there was an issue with something, and he's like, we just went around it. Like the gatekeepers, we just went around them. Yeah. Instead of trying to go through them.
Totally.
And I don't remember the context of it, but I remember it having to do with something with Interscope and doing beats. Yeah. And all.
Plays music. So a slot.
Oh.
Radio.
Yeah.
On a commercial.
Yeah.
Oh, was that with Dre? Yeah. So the Chronic. Yeah, when he produced that record. Yes, that was it. Yeah. He went around because the radio wouldn't play, so they bought that minute slot. They played the song. Yeah. and then people started requesting, right? Yeah, the music, and then it was a genius idea on how to get around. And I feel like there's this book, The Third Door. I don't know if you've ever read it.
No, not that
but
one.
it talks about there's a front door and a back door, and then there's a third door. And it's like maybe it's the window into the bathroom to the side or whatever, into the bedroom. But it's like, how do you get creative in those ways to get around things? And I think it's cool that you're doing something, playing a long game, which people don't like to think long game. Yeah. People they like to think in years, not decades.
And
I also think that the fact that you're willing to stay the course on the human side and the songwriter first side, I go back and forth with this because I hear people like Dana White talk about like any technology that comes along, we utilize.
Sure.
If you don't use the tech, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose.
Sure.
100% of the time. Just look at history. If you didn't adopt the tech, you lost.
Yeah.
So I see people like that, and I'm like, I know you're a tech guy.
Yeah.
So I know you're not dumb to this whole AI thing.
Totally.
But I also know that you have a view that's a lot grander and more macro.
Yeah. And it depends which bucket of AI we're talking about. I use it all day, every day.
Oh yeah. You showed me different AIs.
I mean, as a business, I'm like, thank God we didn't raise a bunch of money 3 years ago. I would have hired for positions that I can now do myself much faster and for $100 a month with Claude. But what that frees me up to do is, and people go job loss. It's like job displacement. People are like, there's going to be job loss. And it's like, there's job displacement. And this is a bunch of rabbit holes we could go down. But for me, I go, but now I can hire for things that I can't, that are going to help the business that I can't do for myself internally, operationally, where it's like user acquisition people, events, all these things, and have people go out and find more songwriters and maybe hire some songwriters to do certain things. Like that whole gig economy thing is so big for me of like, there's a lot of, like, we're getting paid now by companies and organizations that are tapping into our network to get songwriters to come do these experience things, custom songs, random showcase things like events. And all I'm doing is picking up the phone and be like, hey, big songwriter, do you want to make a couple grand and do this thing? And they're like, can you call me every day with this? And, we take a small piece of it, which they're happy to. And then we give even that small piece that we make, a portion of that goes to creative vets. And so like, there's that whole economy that we can give to our songwriting community. But like, for me, the AI stuff boils down to a couple things. Like, one is what the intent is, and is there consent to it? So like, any bad actor can take it and run with it with the fake music and run bots to listen to it. That guy's in jail now. That famous story out of like North Carolina or something, where he like made a bunch of songs, made a bunch of bots, listened to the songs, made $10 million. Well, he got caught. Now he's in jail. But I can steel man both sides of this whole thing. But like, for me, it really boils down to intent. Like, what is your intent with this? And is there consent to it? Like, we will not be an AI generative company in the sense of until there is consent and payment to whoever's stuff that is. Like, that's the consent part of it. It's like, until there's that transparency, there's that technology, there's a way to do it. Like, I'm not even touching it. Because one, the sentiment against it is so, like, I'm not even fighting that battle because I don't want to. Like, I don't, one, from a business perspective of like running those type of things, like that's a challenge. But two, lawsuits going on, who the heck knows? But like, I ask all the songwriters, is this songwriter first? And they're like, I use it. It's like Ozempic, for people that are on it. They're like, they use it. They don't like to say that they're on it sometimes. It's just like, hey, we do it. But if their intent is to go, I want to make a bunch of songs that are fake so that I make money and take from other artists from the pool that are owed to them, that's a problem. But I have no way of controlling that at this stage of like what people do with it. But what I can control is whether I give it as a tool or an option or whatever within our platform and go, look, man, I ain't messing with the generative piece. Operationally, AI internally, fantastic. If we can help you eventually find better songwriters to connect with and co-write with when we have enough data, that makes sense.
Connection's the key point too, because people are hungrier and hungrier for human connection, man.
100%.
And that's just what's going to continue to be a hedge for your business in the next decade is people's hunger for human connection, people's hunger for authenticity, for real songs, non-AI songs. You know what I noticed? I noticed a huge dip in my numbers when I started using AI-generated thumbnails.
So...
And then I was talking to a guy that runs a marketing company, and he's like, even if you put it in like Canva and edit it and save it or whatever, I guess there's some like code in the back end, and like YouTube knows, and even like Spotify, and it like happened, and I saw this decline for all the AI rendered thumbnail episodes.
Yeah.
So now I'm going back and I'm redoing all of the thumbnails the old school way, where I came up with the title and I put the pictures that Haley will take of us today together and cut them out on my blue background with yellow text.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting where it was like people are rejecting
100%
it already.
Do you have a theory as to why?
Why they're rejecting it?
Yeah.
I think there's multiple things. I mean, and that's a rabbit hole. I think one of the things is data centers. I think even like within like Nashville, what we see going on, people want to do that one by the zoo. And people like Brad Paisley standing up against it, and a lot of stuff going on there. I think that people want to see what is real. I know Gen Z has a authenticity factor. Vinyl sales have gone up 19 straight years in a row. If there's anything that I can see trending, it's tech gets to a point where people circle back to wanting, and then we see it in music too. Like, why did Zach, what's his face work?
Brian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like 10 years ago in bro country, they'd have been like, man, that guy kind of sounded like that. Did he do that on his iPhone? Is that a crappy iPhone demo or whatever? Like, that's not going to be, he's not going to sell his catalog for what, 200 million or whatever it was. So things are changing.
I've been doing a lot of just deeper meaning as to why the rejection part. And you can see it just in some numbers and figures where like Deezer put out a report where it was like 75,000 AI generative songs are generated every day or uploaded every day. And so that's like 44% of their input with a 1 to 2% listen rate. Like, cause people just are like, once they, so it's not, the input's not matching the output part of like consumers wanting it. And so that's going to have a business effect of like how much it costs to run those things to build that to then like keep it a viable thing where, now you've got all these companies that 2026, it's projected like AI, like 100% AI companies on the generative space, our revenues are going to be like 36 billion-ish. But the costs from infrastructure is like 700 billion. So like it's going to come to a place where like, sorry to the crypto guys out there, but like the NFT world, when that came around, everyone's like, dude, this is the next thing or whatever. And I know AI is going to be here in some capacity forever, but it's one of those like how it's done. But it's a matter of like what people use it for now. There's got to be an underlying business case to keep that thing operational, because it's like, if we're bringing in 36 billion total for everything, but it costs 700 billion to do it, you can't sustain that if there's not going to be the consumer side going, we need this and this is why. Like Zuck is trying to hire back a bunch of people he fired because he thought he was replacing with AI. Because he's like, we're not getting anywhere close to where we thought. They're hiring
back like a couple hundred
because they go
engineers.
We thought we were going to make more money and do it this way and be faster. And then it was like, this isn't right. So like all these like, oh, this is gone. Salesforce, they were like, Salesforce is gone. They're hiring more developers now than ever before. Like, so job rates of Salesforce, or like software developers are going way up. It's no different than bank tellers when ATMs were coming around. Everybody was like, oh, the bank tellers are gone. There's more bank tellers now than ever before. So like there's always the steel man, and there's a bunch of holes you can poke and all that stuff. But like to me, I've been trying to dig into deeply like why people are connected to the authenticity part, not just, okay, yeah, we are, but why? And what does that look like? And it's like,
to me, on an emotional level, if I boil it down, it feels empty.
So
that's the feeling.
100%. And it's like AI can write a song, but doesn't know why it needs to exist or should exist. And songwriters are the reason that they know why it should be there, why it should exist, because they felt something, they went through something. And there's a couple like effects like of studies done of what that looks like and feels like, because you being a human and then watching kind of your favorite athlete or favorite musician just crush it. And they go, oh man, they're like a machine. You hear that a lot. And oh, they're like a machine. And you go, okay, well, that's interesting, because you go, there's risk involved, there's work ethic involved, there's you knowing that they had to put in so much time, energy, and effort. But when you see them make a mistake, you go, oh, man, he's just like me. He can mess up. I like that guy. When a machine messes up, you go, what was wrong with this? It's a defect. It's a problem. There's an issue. But like when you see Rory miss a 2-foot putt in a high intensity thing, you're like, been there, dude. And then it makes you go, I want to work harder, because then when you see them on this tail of a run and you're like, dude is a machine. Or you see guitar players slaying it and you're like, oh my gosh, for 3 minutes, he slayed that solo, didn't miss a thing. And then you hear one thing, you're like, oh.
Yeah, just like I love seeing John Mayer screw up.
Because you know he's one of the best in the world, but then you go, now I know it's attainable.
Yeah, he's human too.
He's human too.
He screws up too.
I mean, Charlie Puth talks about it all the time, like in all these records, when you hear the mess up, he goes, that's what makes us like go, oh, you're just like me, man. But then it makes you go, I want to work harder. Because if you see, my favorite example is the Waste Management Tour, I think it was 2018 or something, where they had the robot golfer, and they gave him 5 golf balls. And, you know, it was like this huge thing where he hit a hole in one and everybody went crazy. And it was just like this cool thing where you're like, oh, a robot, you know, golfer. And you go, yeah, I kind of expected you to do that. You're a robot, you know? And no one asked for his autograph after. No one took pictures. It was like, oh, this robot's sick. And like afterwards, if he did it again, people would be like, yeah, like, because you have how to do it. You need to do that. You know, it's like, we get it. But like you see a human do it and you're like, that is one of the coolest things ever, because you feel that hours, that failure that it took him to do those things. You go, man, like I want that guy's autograph. I want a picture with that guy. And you go, that's where, to me, I belong to this community called Torch here in Nashville. It's like founders, funders, and connectors, and it's out of the Glass House in Wedgwood, Houston.
Sounds bougie.
So it's just glass blowing. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's glass blowing?
Glass blowing. It's called glass.
You get to go blow glass?
So they have like classes and stuff. But so they started last year. It's kind of a founders, funders, connectors. I could go on forever about it. And a couple of our investors are from there. They're great. But I equate a lot of AI music in conversations there, because a lot of them aren't in music or understand. And they go, well, songwriters are gone. AI, man. It's like, don't get me started on the copyright, the legal battles, like all this stuff. I said, like, there is a building for these guys and girls that are doing glass blowing. And we're watching them and see like all the art that they've made from this is unbelievable. And it's really expensive. And it's really cool because you get to watch them do it. And they're like making the things and making all the crazy stuff. You know, I can buy that from this person because I know he made it. You're like, that's worth a lot. And it's very valuable because like that's a craftsman working forever on his craft. And they're producing beautiful things. And it's not all perfect. And it's not all the same. And I go, you know, AI to me is like like a glass manufacturing company that's just like a manufacturer, just pumping out the same light bulb and the same condensity. Like just, I go, there's a big difference there. And it's like, you're watching these masters do their thing, or it's just like, now it's just like a manufacturer of glass. You're like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think like those are those things that I love having those conversations about. It's like, you're paying to watch this guy do the thing that this company can just like pump out thousands of very similar things.
Yeah.
Because they got the technology.
Distribute them to Walmart glasses.
Yeah. Great.
For your
and AI reads on what's been done before, and it goes to the mean of what's been done because it reads off the back.
Yeah.
Carly Pearce is one of my favorite examples when we interviewed her on that podcast. And her story was like, she listened to a lot of the head guys and girls in town. You need to sound like this, write songs like this, look like that. So she went and did it. And then after a while, it was, well, now you're too much like Miranda and Carrie. We already have, you got to have your own vibe, be unique, be authentic, and be true to you. And it's like, you told me to go look like them to be successful. And so she says, that's the moment I wrote Every Little Thing, which if you hear the structure of the song and how it goes, it's not like anything else. And that was her first big hit. And that was the thing that took her off. That thing. And so it, like, to me, was the prime example of why, like, people are like, well, I can write any song. I can write what's already been done. Music's always forward thinking. It's always moving forward to the next thing. But if AI can't read what's forward and think, it needs the human. And I was like, that's my like favorite example of like, she goes, I'm going to write what I want to write, how I want to write it for me. And the structure of the song is completely different from everything else. And that's what was the turning point.
Yeah, man.
Took off.
Because she pushed the beads away.
It's great.
She let go.
She did. I mean, and so these are those convos I love obsessing about. Because like fun, it's like people like, I could vibe code that app. I was like, sure you could. Now go get 8,000 people to join it and have that trust and brand and loyalty and go, are you Songwriter first? Are you going to grind all day, every day? Because just because you vibe code something and whip it out over the weekend doesn't mean you have the back end infrastructure and integrations to help it grow and scale and support it. It's going to break, like, and that costs money. So are you going to go spend the money to keep it updated yourself?
What protects you legally from other people taking the idea?
Nothing. I mean, from a legal perspective, like this is the fun conversation of why did Friendster go away?
Or MySpace.
God love Tom. Tom did fine. Tom cashed out $570 million, something like that. He's doing just fine. But I mean, nothing technically, like Bumble tried to sue, Tinder tried to sue Bumble when Whitney started Bumble because she was at Tinder. And like, oh, you're doing the same swiping. That's literally our app. And so the judge ruled like you can't trademark and copyright a thumb movement on a phone. And so what separates you is kind of a lot of the intangible things. Like one is, okay, the users and the brand, and do they trust you? And are you giving them an experience that is going to keep them coming back, but also tell other people about it? Are you providing a service to them that solves a problem for them? But also, is it a community that like is active? There was a company that came up not too long ago, started very similarly, was a very similar company to ours, and started by somebody that's much more successful in the business than I was, much more well-known, had much more experience, and was helping songwriters connect through an app that they launched. And that was that was another tough, like, oh man, because I saw on their website who their team was, big team, who their advisor was, top tier team, advisory board. And I was like, oh man, all right. Well, two things. One, she validated that we're solving a problem. If she's trying to solve this problem, that's all I needed to know, that like we're solving a problem, that she's trying to do the same thing. but the execution was what was different of how it was being done. And, like a lot of social hype before it was launched, building a beta, like a waiting list. And then it launched. And then I had seen how big their team was. And I was like, that's a lot of money. That's a monthly burn. That is a lot of money to keep all these people on salary employed. And I don't know what the structure was, but I was like, they're going to need to raise a lot of money. And there was some other difference in terms of how it was used, like how it was connecting people. They were trying to use AI and psychology to help connect people, which I get at a core level, but you need a lot of data for that. And you need a lot of data. And then the ability to take that and aggregate it and then distribute that data to help the users do that thing. That's a lot of money. And so they came out on the App Store and then never came out on Google Play. And I knew they were raising more money right after that because a lot of the people we were talking to, they were kind of talking to as well. So we kind of heard it. And so, they eventually had to, they no longer are an app that are connecting songwriters. I think just ran out of money. But that's why for us, it was bootstrapping early on, not raising a ton of money, being very scrappy, not doing a big launch of like spending a bunch of money to get a bunch of people in, because if they come in and then leave and never come back and have a bad experience, you lost them.
What's the point?
It's a small market. It's a small niche market in terms of our user base. And so if it is well communicated, and we could do a much better job on so many things, but it's one of those where I go, I'm not doing certain things until we can deliver on the value. And that takes money. And so there's a lot of chicken in the egg in that whole thing. So anybody can do it. I mean, we had a conversation with one of the big 3 publishers that wants to still white label what we're doing for their publishing company globally, because it helps. They have the same problem internally. They wanted to invest a good bit of money. We haven't taken them money. I mean, we didn't, as great as that would be. So, do they have the capital to build it and whip it up? And of course, but you got to hire a team. You got to build the thing, and then you can't go sell it to other people. It's an internal cost because you're providing it internally to your employees and songwriters and artists. So for us on the outside, it's the same conversation that most startups have, or like people, Amazon's going to do that. It's like, is that part of their strategy, their goals? Like, they have all the capital in the world, but do they care to do that? I don't know. So, but yeah, for us, the protection is the brand, the company, or the community, the songwriters. Like, us building that to a place where they go, that's our global home. That's our home. We needed this home. We needed those minor leagues, and we're not promising like, you get on this app, you're going to be a hit writer. Our coolest story was we got a girl from Atlanta, a pub deal, and then a record deal here in Nashville. And so like, it's pinned on our Instagram, and she reached out and she said, you're the reason I got a pub deal. And so I wanted to verify a couple things and obviously get some details. And she just said, in short, my dream was to be a Nashville songwriter, but I have kids in Atlanta. Getting there to write a bunch and meet a bunch of people was just really hard. And she was like, I found your app, put my profile from Atlanta to Nashville, connected with a guy that had a pub deal. They wrote virtually, songs got pitched, she got signed. And then a year and a half later, she sends Richard and I an email. She's come to Third and Lindsley this Friday. And we were like, oh, you're in town? Like, I'd love to meet you in person. I'd love to get some content if that's cool, like about the story. And it was like, oh, no. Like, I'm getting signed to a record deal. Come out. So we went out and I was like, this is crazy. And she's like, moving my family to Nashville. And I remember her mom coming up and being like, are you those guys with that app? I'm like, yeah. She's like, she always says she didn't find that. She doesn't know if she'd be doing this. And I said, she probably would do it. Just might have taken a little bit longer, but that's the stuff that I go, we're on the right path. Long way to go. But It's just giving a resource for them to do what they, and it's up to them. Like, I didn't help them write the songs.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just,
I love that, man. I intentionally didn't go into the app and what it does
great.
today.
Great.
Because
I'm very fine with
I
it.
wanted to leave it mysterious.
Yeah.
So that way you have to actually go check it out for yourself.
I love that.
If you're a songwriter.
Yeah. Just dangle it, you know?
Yeah,
What is it?
that's all we did. Bridget told a cool story about someone in LA that was a hit writer out there that couldn't get co-writes. And she learned about the app, and now she literally couldn't, her publisher couldn't get her rights in Nashville.
Yeah.
She used the app. So I think there's going to be a lot of stories like that, and you could probably tell them forever.
I reached out and I was like, I love that you signed up, but I have a question. Like, why do you need this? Like, you've written monster songs, monsters, and done really well in the pop world in LA. I just want more cross-genre country stuff. I don't care if the country writers are hit writers, or I just wanted to write with country writers. He was like, and I can just sit anywhere and put my profile in Nashville and start connecting with people and write. And it's like democratizing that location of going, for now, you still need, it's just like acting and modeling. It's like there's certain pockets that you should be in, but over the course of time, it's like you can kind of do whatever you need anywhere, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah. Democratizing songwriting.
That's it, man. Just giving them a home to do their thing.
Is that our thumbnail? Democratizing songwriting. Is that too confusing?
I think a little too confusing because people go, I don't know. It's
what
just,
does that even mean?
Give
me a thumbnail
One of
title
our investors said something that was annoying to me when he said it, but like, because it was so good, where I was like, oh, where were you when we first started this? But he made a career in marketing, like big companies, Nike, and he was like, so you're making the world's largest writer's room. And I was like, oh, that's so good. It's like, yeah, that sounds good. He was like, so you're making the world's largest writer's room. I was like, I love
is that in your mission statement?
It's in a lot of our stuff.
We're making the world's largest writers.
World's largest writers room.
I love that.
Yep.
That's sick, dude.
Thanks, man.
I could talk to you all day,
Yeah.
But you've been really cool and helpful to me too, man.
Well,
I just think about those days when I was trying to figure out projections, and you lent me so much of your time, and even gave me what you used for it. And one thing I did learn was that is not my strength. But
totally
they're things that you have to learn over time. But it's such a journey, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear it from someone that has a heart for the people that are using the product. And it's not just about making money fast. No. It's about the long play. And it's about songwriters first. And a lot of people say that.
Totally.
But they don't mean it. I think that, like, it's a cliche, it's almost like asking someone, how are they doing? And you're like, oh, I'm just busy, man. But like shut
living
up.
The dream.
Everybody says they're busy. Like
living the dream and busy. I'm like,
we're songwriter first. Yeah, we're songwriter first.
Yeah.
This is a songwriter's town for songwriters or whatever. But it's like, yeah, are you really songwriter first, or are you making money first?
Does it sound good?
Does it sound good? Is it commercial?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, let's put them, let's look at the data.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having
me. On the podcast. Where should people go to download the app or check out what you're doing?
We should writesome.com everywhere, socials, but also the website. And then, I always joke and they're like, there's not much on the website. And I was like, have you ever been to Tinder or Bumble's website? And they're like, no. I was like, when we build out the rest of the stuff that's coming for both the users and the business, we'll obviously make the website like a real robust one. But for now, it's just directing you to the app because that's where you should go.
Yeah.
And it's free. It's free to do it. And so like, you're like, well, so I was like, so we're the product. And I was like, not yet, but yeah, eventually, because if I know where all the guitar players are, like that could be of help if we need to make sure that people need to find guitar players. Like I'm not out here to like sell ads to you, but
I think it's cool too, because you could be like a guy, you could be a physician that bought a Guitar Center, and you're like, I want to start writing songs in my free time, and I'm old and I'm whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to be some professional. You could literally have the idea of writing songs and start.
And I'll shut up because I'm never going to like be pitching like it does this and this and this. The cool stories though are like, okay, we're on the right path of a guy reached out in Houston and said, hey, I went to Nashville. I got my email and goes, hey, I came to Nashville the first time and I went to the listening corner and saw a writer's and I go,
listening room?
I go, listening room?
Oh, corner.
He goes, listening corner? I was listening room? Yeah. He goes, I've never seen a writer's round. And he was like, I've always booked bands and artists for my bar or bands, like full bands. He goes, I want writers. How do I book? Can I book them through your app? I was like, not yet. I can help. Like I can manually kind of help that, but like, there's not a way. But I was like, that's interesting because if there's writers that want, like, that's where the data comes in. Right. And so there's opportunities, but like, I just love that from a writer's perspective where they got, and he's not knocking the bands and artists. He was like, I just love the story. And I didn't care that they weren't the best guitar player, the best singer. It was like that story to the song that I know and how it came to be. He was like, that blew my brain. I was like, yeah, man, I think I'm spoiled, but that's why people love it. I was like, but it's listening room, not listening corner.
Dude, well, thank you.
Thank you.
And
super fun.
Thank you guys for tuning in, for hanging out with me and Kevin McCarty.
You're the best.
We should write sometime, download it, and also leave a review for it in the App Store.
5 stars.
5 stars.
Yeah.
And if it's not 5, DM Kevin and let him know why, and he'll make it right.
Yeah.
So it is 5 stars.
The laundry list of things that I know need to get fixed, but it does what it needs to do.
It does what it needs to do, and that's what matters.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And over half of you are not subscribed that listen to this podcast, so do us a free gift of just smashing that subscribe button, leaving a review, and appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you here next week. Peace.